Hello and welcome to an episode of the Drive Report in association with Bridgestone. Now today is a rather special day because while the Bugattis and the Paganis and Koenigseggs of the world are yet to set their sights on India, a very special and pedigreed British supercar maker has, and that brand is McLaren. That's right, one of the most storied brands in the world and the last word in British automotive exotica, McLaren has finally entered the Indian market. Now that isn't to say that McLarens haven't plied on Indian roads before. In fact, we've seen them in several cities. They've been driven around by celebrities in the recent past. So people are very familiar with the brand, but this is the first time McLaren has an official dealer partner, Infinity Motors, which has set up the brand's first showroom in the country here in Mumbai. With models like the McLaren GT, the 720S and the 765 LT Spider, the latter being the only one of its kind in the country, McLaren has brought a wide range of heavy hitters to the market, with its hybrid supercar, the Artura, set to arrive early next year. Unlike several performance car brands, McLaren is exclusively dedicated to mid-engine high-performance supercars, with doors pointing skywards where its price range usually resides. Both the 720S and the 765 LT Spider are powered by a 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8, with the latter being the fastest convertible ever made by McLaren. Both have a 0 to 100 km/h time of under 3 seconds and feature the brand's new proprietary carbon fiber monocage 2. Where the 720S convertible weighs a little under 1500 kg, the 765 LT's weight has been shaved down 1388 kilos, 70 of which has been added due to the folding roof mechanism. With nearly 60 years of Formula One experience, having been founded by F1 racer Bruce McLaren in 1963, McLaren is arguably the most hardcore performance car brand in the world, relying entirely on F1-derived technology to drive its road cars. Unlike Ferrari and Lamborghini, it doesn't have any super SUV, although it does continue to dabble in hybrid performance, which consumers will soon get to sample. My first question is, were the circumstances particularly ripe to bring a brand like this to the country when the plans have sort of been in the offing for quite some time?
Yeah, I think it's sort of right partner, right time. And if we look back at the history that we've had with speaking to Lalit, it's been going on for a number of years. I think back to 2016. During that discussion, of course, I think COVID came and a lot of industry sectors, basically stopped and ceased and thought about what's going on, and that impacted us as well. But that didn't stop Lalit's passion and our passion to be in India. We think we've got the right partner in the right location, and the timing's right. I mean, the market's growing, demand is as high as it ever has been. It seems to have a robustness about it as well, which is good to see. And I think from a brand development point of view and understanding in across the size of a population of India, it's very important that we're present here and that people have a place that they can come and understand and experience McLaren in their own domicile. So I think that it's just perfect timing really overall with the right partner.
Lalit, you're an enthusiast yourself. Do you think the burgeoning sort of racetrack infrastructure that we're likely to see come up in the next few years is also a factor that has played into this decision, given just how hardcore these cars are?
That and many other factors. I think the Indian consumer, the fast car Indian consumer, is a growing segment of population. Brands operating in the space have tasted recent success. Post-COVID, I think it's been a remarkable shift in mentality of the customer base. They're willing to spend, they're willing to acquire the best that the world has to offer. And we're seeing an increasing propensity for customers to have their experiences built around track events, be it at the Buddh circuit, sometimes in Coimbatore. We have many customers going abroad where they are having track experiences as a reason for them to actually holiday abroad. There's also the ICE Drive events that we spoke of, where we have participation from India already for the McLaren event coming up in February. So there's a lot of driving related enthusiasm among these customers. And the onset of tracks will only make using these cars more frequent, and the thrill of actually using these cars to their maximum potential on track would actually energize the customer base even more than today.
Now, of course, India is no stranger to the McLaren brand. You know, we've seen celebrities drive these cars. It's a fairly storied brand. What does the existence of a dealership and sort of official presence of the brand, what kind of benefits does it bring for the customer from an after-sales POV, and of course these events that you just mentioned?
The connect between the brand and the consumer, and that's the role of an importer dealer like us, right? It's to make that brand accessible to a person in India who's been aspirational about that brand. And when you're spending this kind of price on a car, you want to do so knowing that you're in safe hands. Not just with the after sales, but starting from the sale itself. It's got to be done in a transparent fashion. It's got to be with the dealer group who's going to be around to look after the vehicle for years together. And in the after sale, there should never be an instance where we can't stand by the customer and make them feel that they've made a decision other than what's right. So I think these aspects of a customer's concerns are best addressed when you have local representation. And hence you start seeing manifestation of that enthusiasm into conversion into sales.
But supercar interest is also fairly strong in the south and in Delhi. So is there a rollout plan to have more showrooms present in that area?
I think at the moment, we're very happy with Mumbai, and I think that we have a way to meet that interest and demand, which is to basically take the experience to the consumer. And the nature of India, also, particularly the type of clientele we're dealing with, they are very regularly, traveling in and around the cities in India. So there's a high propensity that they may come through Mumbai. So we want to concentrate our expertise in this fantastic centre that we're in today to open, and use that as the sort of lighthouse for the rest of India for the time being. Having said that, I think, as time moves on, if we have particularly a service need, I think, more localized in one particular area, then of course we would review that at that time.
Now, from a growth perspective, you just mentioned that there is a changing mindset and the supercar market is growing. It still occupies about 1% in what is a 3 million odd car market. Do you see that growing? Do you have any particular number that you would hope it would grow to within the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, I think that one thing that India's taught me is the hope of that sort of growth. You have to be a bit cautious about it, but I think there are a number of key indicators that are very, very positive towards it. One is the growth in the customer propensity or the customer's ability to buy that type of car. So we see growth in wealthy growing at around about 11% in India. The other growth that we see is in the sports car segment in itself, which has grown higher than the core segment in terms of it's grown 8% year on year. So they're two key indicators that for me would indicate that segment will grow. And then if we take a sort of a cut-off point, if we take the cut-off point, say of 1 crore, for example, and we look at that as a feeder segment for the more expensive side, that's growing as well. So all of those indicators look towards a positive future and a growth. If you asked me to put a number on that, I couldn't tell you, but all I would say is it will grow, and it will probably grow in double digits.
Now, McLaren is probably one of those last bastions of purists and purebred automotive performance. The brand has not yet, gone over to the performance SUV side or made any long-term announcements about its electrification plans. Given how well it's worked for other performance car brands, like Aston Martin, Lamborghini, to have an SUV, especially in the Indian context where the infrastructure sort of is more conducive to cars like that. Do you think personally that, that's a direction a brand as sort of performance driven as McLaren would take, or should it distinguish itself by being very, very distinct with its cars?
I think that we have to be cognizant of market development and the way our market goes, but without speculating, and I don't want to speculate, from a personal perspective, one segment that continues to grow globally is the SUV segment. So it would be a question of whether or not we want to chase segment growth or not. And I think that is very much, very alien to the brand as it stands at the moment, because it's a sports car brand, through and through. Having said that, it may become something that becomes more interesting and something that we are more capable of delivering on. So I would say that nothing's in, nothing's out, and we're certainly not confirming or denying anything. I think that at the moment, though, we're talking about Artura, which is coming to the market as a brand new product only from next quarter. And I think that in the medium term, I think that we've got that to look forwards to.
And while the world awaits McLaren's electric car plans, Enthusiasts can take comfort in knowing that if nothing else, the sound of a McLaren V8 will continue to roar on Indian streets for a long time. Now is as good a time as any to discuss tyre safety. You see, with EVs, your overall maintenance of a car is much easier. In fact, you just need to have it checked out maybe once in 2 years. But where you do end up spending more is on replacing tires, because EVs are much heavier, and as a result it causes the tire compound to degrade faster. They also deliver torque at a much higher rate instantaneously, which tends to take a toll on the tire compound as well. So in order to make sure that your tires run as long as possible and as safely as possible, ensure that you pick out a tire compound that has a higher weight rating and is of a brand, a reputed brand that you trust, and you trust enough to take you on long distance journeys where you can truly enjoy that EV performance. Another thing to keep in mind is the fact that an underinflated EV tire will likely affect your range, much like it would with a petrol or a diesel car. This is because it causes the rolling resistance of that wheel to increase a bit. So ensure that it's adequately inflated and that the compound is strong enough to last you much longer, because otherwise you'll have to either swap out the rear and the front, or if in case it's an all-wheel drive EV, then the entire set much quicker than you would have to with a petrol or diesel car. So keeping that in mind, make sure that it's a brand you trust, it's a compound that's got a high weight rating, and then you can enjoy your EV with the same set of tires for as long as possible.